So if you're an adult like me, I'm sure you've been in the situation where you revisited a movie you haven't seen in a very long time, and it's a movie you remember enjoying, but now viewing it through an adult lens, it's just not the same. Hell, you might even go as far as to say it's bad. And you may not even ever want to watch it again. Well, I can't say that's exactly the case here, but this is something that did happen to me recently, and unfortunately, it just happened to be the sixth installment of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, 1991's Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare, and that is what we're going to be talking about today. So, you clicked on this video, and you're probably thinking, what the fuck is this guy talking about now? Freddy's Dead? Sucks? Come on! It's my favorite one in the series, and you know what? I'm not even looking to take that away from you if that's how you feel about this movie. But, after giving it a watch recently, holy shit does it have its fair share of problems. So, with that said, here are a few examples as to why Freddy's Dead sucks. Now, the biggest problem is that there's actually lack of a plot. There's a bunch of small plots and a few plots that kind of get dropped onto you as you're viewing the movie, but it doesn't have an overall plot. So just a quick review, this kid has amnesia, Freddy's stalking him, he ends up at a group home, and the people at the group home go to Springwood to help him try to figure out who he is or where he comes from and what even his name is. He's basically a John Doe at this point. Cool enough, different, for a Nightmare on Elm Street movie character, or at least the main character, and we're back to a male character, which we have not seen since the second film. Now, where it gets really, really unnerving for me, where it just gets so fucking stupid, like, I don't know how this made it past a test audience with a brain. I mean, there at least had to be a mathematician in there. And here's why. So, at the beginning of the movie, they made it clear that this is Springwood 10 years from now. This story takes place 10 years from now, okay? Now, we're just going to assume that's 2001 since the movie came out in 1991. Alright, we'll just go with that for now. Okay, so here it is, 2001, right? And you have this kid who has amnesia, who's 17 years old, and he comes to the conclusion that he's Freddy's kid, even though, now granted, albeit from a crazy townsperson in Springwood, the kid was taken from Freddy in 1966. Okay? There's newspaper articles there that can corroborate who Freddy's was and what his age was when he died, I'm sure, if they read through that carefully enough. So you mean to tell me that in 2001, a 17-year-old kid thinks that he was taken from Freddy in 1966? Like, who? How? What? Fucking how? How? Did he not look in a mirror since he had amnesia? Does he not realize that he's actually a 25, 17-year-old? I mean, and even the fucking character that's with him, okay, this Maggie character, even she's not like, oh, you know, think about it there, chap, okay, like, that doesn't work out. I don't think you're Freddy's kid. Hate to break it to you. Now, of course, we all know she ended up being Freddy's kid, and albeit very good looking for what should be someone in their 40s at that point, yeah, that tracks better. So, like, again, that just, why did nobody stop him and say, hey, fuck is wrong with you? Did you forget how to do math? That is just lazy writing right there. I honestly think, and you know what too, I feel ashamed of myself because, like, the last time I saw this movie I might have been maybe 25, so I didn't even pick up on it then. I don't know, probably stoned. Freddy Krueger himself in this movie has his own plot thread going. In fact, he's probably the only one that has a clear-cut goal. Maybe. And the reason why I say that is because, well, let's just get into it, okay? First, he wants to basically still continue being Freddy, doing what he's doing, right? So he's trying to break out of the confines of Springwood and spread himself across other areas of the country, who knows, maybe even the world. And of course, his big grand plan, he tops it off with the moniker of every town has an Elm Street. And yeah, that was actually one of the big hooks. It was in the trailer. It was like, oh my god, I'm a fucking Freddy, Elm Street. Just one problem with his fucking plan here, okay? So for some reason, when people die by him, when he kills somebody, they added this subplot of that in this movie he's not just killing them, he's erasing their existence. So they kind of vanish like fucking Jedis when they die. So unless if you were there to actually witness this event happening, you know, Freddy killing somebody, everybody else would forget about that person entirely, which is fine, because then nobody will think you're fucking crazy that some dream demon killed your friend. But at the same time, though, it's through fear that Freddy operates. It's more or less the fear of him that kills you. The more you kind of believe in him, the more he has on you. You know, I mean, that's been established in other movies. So at this rate, it's like, wait a second, wouldn't you want to, like, have evidence, have bodies that have inexplicable slashes in them, maybe cause stress for the people who are, you know, having to surround this shit like in other movies? They're just gonna, like, what? So you're telling me that you want your legacy to live on and you want to be remembered, so you're gonna take away basically the hardest piece of evidence to get people to fear you? That makes no fucking sense. Again, fucking...
Who writes this shit?
Now, the last plot point I'm going to save till the end because, well, basically, you'll see at the end of this video. Now, the next crime this movie commits is the characters. Now, I'm not saying that they're necessarily bad characters, but it's either like, you know, like this movie almost operates like we're supposed to be on autopilot. Like, okay, you know who Freddy is, you know what you came for, so... Here's your average cast of characters that we're going to come up for you. First, let's look at the teenagers, okay? All the 16 and 17, 20-something year olds, okay? We have our main character who's very unhinged, naturally, because Freddy's stalking them, but they usually end up looking crazy to everybody else. That's fine, nothing new here. Of course, we have our tough person character, our either nerdy or sweet character that's usually likable and the one we don't want to see die. And then we have our stoner characters. And then we have our supportive adult characters here. You know, we have Maggie, who's Freddy's daughter. We have the late, great Yaphet Kotto, who plays Doc. And he happens to be a dream therapist. How fucking convenient. What's odd about this movie is that there's no unsupportive adult characters like we've seen in other horror films. You know, the people that don't believe Chucky's alive. You know, the people that tell Laurie Strode, you're being crazy. Michael's in lockup, don't worry about it. I'm not saying you need that conflict to make the movie work, but that does add to the tension of the film. And in this case, it's just, it feels like it was... This movie feels more like an homage to the other films, more so than it trying to be its own movie, if that makes sense. Also, too, there's no anchor characters in this movie, and what I mean by that is that there's no characters that can carry over from previous films to kind of help us introduce to this new set. You know, even Nightmare on Elm Street 2 had some of this. Now, granted, it was only the mentioning of Nancy, but the kid was living in the same house. So we still have that connection there. We still have that tether from the previous film. You know, and of course, naturally, with the other films, you know, we had the character of Kristen, who introduced us to Alice, and it kind of ended with Alice in the fifth movie. Here, it's just a fresh start, fresh characters who know nothing about Freddy, but yet seem to know everything about Freddy at the same time, because this movie operates on the assumption of the audience already knows. And that's great, that saves a lot of time, but at the same time, many years later, on another view, it makes no fucking sense and looks dumb. Now, of course, as mentioned, Yaphet Kotto plays Doc, who just happens to be a dream therapist, and again, very convenient. But this character had so much potential to do more in this movie, and really, the only purpose he seems to serve is dishing out exposition.
You may not be ready to face what this boy is going to show you.
I think I've got a way to get him. These are ancient dream demons. He erased them. Find the most evil, twisted human imaginable. But if this can come out, he can come out. The cop was supposed to pick this stuff up. Then they give him the power to cross the line and turn our nightmares into reality. He's fucking with the line between dreams and reality.
And the only scene where he's not dishing out exposition is where Freddy is dishing out exposition to him.
Sticks and stones may break my bones, but nothing will ever kill me. First, they tried burning me. They tried burying me. They even tried holy water. I just keep on checking. The dream people, the ones that gave me this job. I am forever!
Now, this character seems to know a lot about dreams, how dreams work. He's aware of these dream demon things that grant evil people power, so he seems to have a leg up. What they really could have done with this character was make him like an anti-Freddy, like he's actually a good guy that could enter dreams and maybe stop something like Freddy. I just felt like there was a missed opportunity. And then last we got to talk about Freddy himself. Now, don't get me wrong, Robert Englund's the shit. And he did do a good job in this movie, but he did a good job based on what the script had in store. He only serves one purpose, and that's basically being a fucking Looney Tunes character. See what I mean? Towards the beginning of this video, I said that there was a plot point that I was going to save to the end, and that's basically exactly that. It's the ending itself, the climax. So Maggie finds out that she's Freddy Krueger's daughter, and after Freddy exposition piece number 2, Doc finds out that, hey, you can pull him out of a dream. So their plan is to pull him out of a dream and kill him in the real world. That should stop him for sure. Wasn't this done in the first movie? I mean, if that would... I mean, okay, granted, these characters don't know exactly what came before, and that's fine, but don't tell the audience what they already know. That's one of the greatest sins you can commit in movies, and guess what? We already have seen this before. What's going to make it different this time? What, because it's his daughter? What, because there's a dream therapist who knows shit? They've done this already. It obviously didn't fucking work, or otherwise we wouldn't have... This fucking 6 movies, so it obviously didn't fucking work. But anyhow, there was the novelty of 3D. Now, I actually had the honor of seeing this movie in the theater. I was about 9 years old at the time, and it was the first movie I had actually seen in 3D. Now, the whole movie's not in 3D. It becomes 3D when Maggie in the movie puts on the 3D glasses, because that's supposed to make you see shit in the dream world that you can't see. Look, it was just to make people put on fucking 3D glasses for a movie and nothing more. There was really nothing that clever about that, but it was still a cool effect to see. But with it taken away, it's a bunch of weird nonsense. Now, I will admit, seeing the memories of Freddy Krueger as a child and as a teenager, where Alice Cooper plays his stepfather or father or whatever, that's cool. I'm okay with that. Where it becomes a real problem for me is when they pull him out of the dream, but yet they kind of don't. And this is where it gets super confusing. Basically, Maggie saying, oh, I'm still seeing like the way I'm seeing in my dreams. So are you still fucking dreaming? Are they just in the dream with you? Or did you actually wake up? But you're like, unclear, completely unclear. But then as they're fighting Freddy, they can seem to hurt him real easily, but yet he's still able to do shit like crawl around on the ceiling like fucking Spider-Man. And again, this is like lore they've already established. Why are you messing with it? I'm not seeing how this is going to be any special or any different, you know? Like, I thought maybe it's like, oh, you know, Freddy, it turns out it has to be like a talisman, or, you know, like, I mean, hell, even part 3 had the right idea, you know, give him a proper burial. He never had one. At least just something to fucking make it make sense. And granted, they really didn't have a lot to work with, because other movies had better ideas on this, on how to get rid of Freddy, how to make him stay dead forever. I tell you what, here's a pitch. I'll pitch something to you, okay? This is going to sound bonkers as shit, but it's still better than what they did in this movie, okay? Pull him out of the dream and throw him in one of those fucking cryo prisons, like in Demolition Man. Problem solved. Done. And I think the part that bothers me about it the most was that this was supposed to be Freddy's last outing. I mean, the movie's called Freddy's Dead. Now, obviously, there were 3 more films after that. Granted, one of them's not canon, and the other one was the remake, which is not canon to this franchise as well. But why split hairs? The reason I'm bringing this up is because we weren't ready to say goodbye to the fucker yet. And that's fine. Now, of course, at the beginning of this video, I said when you go back and you watch a movie and maybe it's bad now for you. Now, I don't want to say this movie's bad. It's still entertaining. It still has its place in the franchise. It had really cool cameos, as I mentioned before, Alice Cooper, Tom Arnold and Roseanne make an appearance as a crazy couple in Springwood. And this was at a time where Freddy was just popular. I mean, he was pop culture. He was already at pop culture status. He was MTV. Now, I'm using this term loosely, but I have to say that this is probably the most kid-friendly Nightmare on Elm Street movie. And the reason why I say that is because, well, there's no nudity, and the kills, while somewhat graphic in some cases, not as graphic as others. We've seen a lot worse in previous films. And Freddy doesn't even use his glove on anybody in this movie, really, which is kind of a bummer because, you know, you figure for his last outing, he at least needs to do a classic slash on somebody, but they weren't thinking about that. I feel like this movie was a fanfare film. You know, again, I saw this in the theater with my family. Like, you know, we went and saw this as like an outing. I remember clearly it was a Friday afternoon, you know. Might have been my last day of school, maybe. That part, I'm not sure. I just remember it was raining. It was a Friday afternoon, and it was something we were going to go enjoy as a family. Now, if I had my way, would I remove it from the franchise? My answer is no. It's like I said, it still has a lot of entertainment value. There's still a lot to see, and at no point do you feel bored. It's just one of those that just don't think about it too hard. If you think about it too hard, you're going to drive yourself nuts, as I did, just trying to explain it in this video. But if you're willing to relax, empty out your mind a little, toke or sip on whatever floats your boat, grab some popcorn, and just enjoy the ride, then Freddy's Dead is a pretty awesome movie. But now that I saw it through the adult lens, I felt I had to share because misery loves company. Anyway, if you want to see more videos like this, you know what to do.